Hello survivors and welcome to another Walking Dead Road to Survival video, and in this video we're going to be doing a little showcase of Gold Mythic Brawler Sandy, where we're going to be going over some ideas for combat mods, her weapon, and just showing her in action against some pretty strong defense teams where I think she's going to be pretty useful. If you do want to check out the full preview of this character, I have gone over her skills in depth. You can see the link in the top right hand corner just to see the breakdown of her entire kit. But pretty much when it comes to the basics of her kit, you have to decide between two things. Do you want to do more flat damage, which would increase the damage output of her adrenaline rush, or do you want to get some crit multiplier in there and obviously increase the damage of her signature move, or do you want to try and go for a little bit of a mix of both? Personally, I think it's better to go for a little bit of a mix of both, mainly because there are not too many characters that are built like Sandy, and that way you can utilize mods that you probably have available to you and not being utilized by anyone else on your roster. So that could actually be pretty good when it comes to modding Sandy here. However, when it comes to building a pure flat attack Sandy, you can obviously rely a little bit more on her passive Fired Up, where she's going to get a 50% attack buff off of turn 1, which is going to be very useful to boost that adrenaline rush continuously throughout the fight, as well as the signature move as well. So the mod set we're going to go with is going to be the attack set, and we are going to get some crit multiplier in her auxiliary slot. I'll get onto that in just a second, but we're going to go with the basics first. Obviously, attack on the attack is the way to go in her main slot. You want to get that attack stat up as high as possible. I'm going to build her initially to be very nuky against tough characters. She already does obviously extra damage against them because she is fast, but there are some very dangerous tough characters out there, the likes of the Telltale team, for instance, and boosting that adrenaline rush as much as possible with extra, doubling down on the attack versus tough could be a really good idea. An extra 70% attack is very nice. Now the bottom right hand corner is pretty interesting. She doesn't need any debilitating status effect resist here, and this is because she obviously gets 100% resist to all debilitating status effects from her passives. So you could go with something like Exhaust to protect the AP gain that she's bringing to the table, and maybe try her out against some teams that do obviously have some exhaust potential. So after the first 3 mods we've got on this character, I will just hit the apply, and you can see her attack stat has gone up to 57,000 already, which is not too bad. Now we're going to go to the auxiliary slot, which is the one I was talking about. This is where I think this particular mod, while it is nice, is not really utilized by a lot of characters. Generally speaking, this mod would be good on a crit set to get as much crit multiplier as possible on an overall crit damage character, whereas Brawler Sandy is a bit of a hybrid, and it could be good to just get this as a boost for her signature move and the overall flat attack for her adrenaline rush. She's going to be rushing quite a lot, but obviously her signature move is good too, so it is a good option, and you will generally always do her signature move off of turn 1. Now last but by no means least is going to be the wildcard slot, and this one is completely up to you what you want to do. I would say again, it's going to be very hard to find a resist that's going to be useful here just because she's got so many resists in her kit. So you might want to go with another attack versus against a particular trait that you know you're going to be coming up against on a regular basis. If you are building her anti-exhaust to potentially come up against the teams with Denise lead, then you'd want to potentially go with attack versus strong here, which I will be testing out. So here we have attack versus strong as the last slot, and she is going to get a nice 60,000 base attack before any leader skill, before any major upgrades to her weapon. This is a nice baseline to have for the character. Now when it comes to Brawler Sandy's base weapon, you could of course stick with this weapon right here. The first slot is going to be attack, and that's going to boost her adrenaline rush and her signature move. Obviously HP will not boost either, but she doesn't need AP on attack because she gains AP so quickly from her signature move and her passives when she takes people down. The third slot is to protect her specialist skill. You need to have max HP for that specialist skill to actually gain AP, so potentially keeping this is a good idea. However, the last slot will only work with her signature move. If we want to build a more hybrid character when it comes to her mods and her weapon, you'd want a more all-round weapon that's going to have a bit more functionality for both the Adrenaline Rush and the signature move. So in this case, an extremely basic weapon like this that you can build in the armory could be very useful indeed. The first slot's going to work with the Adrenaline Rush and the signature move. The third slot is only going to work with the signature move. And then the final slot is going to work with both the Adrenaline Rush and the signature move. However, the 35 crit obviously will not work with the Adrenaline Rush, but that's not too much of a problem. We're mainly looking at the attack here, and an extra 15% attack is nice. If we just equip this weapon, you can see now she goes up to 89,000 attack with those mods. And again, this is without adjacent 1535s and also without a leader skill. You need to get her attack stat up very high. And this is because of the fact that she does an extra 500% damage on that Adrenaline Rush if her attack is higher than the enemy's defense, which is not too hard to do, but generally speaking, you want to try and get that attack up as high as possible anyway. Now, when we put some more teammates in the team, you can see she's obviously going to get much higher attack, pretty much 150,000. Remember, she does get a 50% attack buff off of turn 1, so this is going to be boosted even further than you see right here. You're looking at over 200,000 attack stat very early on in the fight, and that's going to progressively get higher and higher. Now, I decided to put Job in this team because he does apply crosshairs consistently throughout the fight, and that could be very useful, not just for Sandy, but any other characters you used in the team. Finishing off this particular team is going to be Wanderer and Mighty Hunter Zachary. Mighty Hunter Zachary is just going to be a great combo just in case Brawler Sandy does get taken down, or anyone else in the team. He'll obviously have the potential to just revive her at the beginning of the next turn, and Sandy can just pop off straight away with the signature move, and that would obviously be a lot of damage straight away. Disarm is quite important, so They Who Wander or The Wanderer would be a great combo. If you have Julie, another good disarm character as well. Okay, so we are attacking here, and you might have seen plenty of resist just now on Brawler Sandy. I think I saw a daze and a taunt, and that is obviously great because we don't want her to be dazed or taunted. Those 100% resisted debilitating status effects coming in extremely, extremely nicely. Now, when we come up against a strong character on a defense team, we're going to get 2 separate hits on that signature move. The first hit, if it takes a character out, the second hit will go to a random enemy. So we'll do the attack, and then next hit comes in, and it goes onto Omid, which is actually pretty nice. That means I can potentially try and steal away his halo, and then I could potentially have that character very, out for the count. Omid is a very annoying character for sure. Now we can look around and see if we've got anyone else with decap potential here. We do have a decap potential character up the top, so we'll decide to take out that character. And we'll just do a basic attack here. Oh, we did get impaired. That's lovely. That's lovely jubbly. And now the next turn we should apply crosshairs again because of Job. And that means any takedowns will be decapped. Now, I can take down Clementine here. She has got the defense down. I'll do my Adrenaline Rush. My attack is higher than her defense, so I'm going to do 170k on the hit. Not many characters are going to survive that sort of damage, which is obviously very nice. Now, she did only gain 50% of her max AP from getting the takedown. However, if we just do some basic attacks here, I should, fingers crossed, let's have a little look, get my specialist skill to proc, and I'll now get 100% AP. Now we're coming up against a character that has 120% defense buff. This is where Ransack can come in very, very nicely. I ransacked that defense buff away, and now my attack stat is definitely going to be higher than the enemy's defense. It probably was before anyway, because she's got a 200% attack buff. And now when I use the Adrenaline Rush, it should be doing significant damage here. 129k is very, very nice. This character had max bonus HP. So yeah, very nice indeed. And I can just finish him off with another character as Joe comes in swiftly for the win. Now, one thing you might notice about this team I put together, which I did on purpose, is very heavy support based. I wanted to just put a big microscope on Sandy as a damage dealer. And what made it even better was Maggie got dazed and she got impaired, so she couldn't do anything except basic attacks. It was all Sandy's, you know, damage output, and it was heavy damage output. Obviously, some nice support characters. Mighty Hunter Zachary and the combo with Sandy, I think it's going to be very nice indeed. Obviously, Zachary can combo with a lot of characters, but I really like the potential. Just in case she does get taken out, she can just get picked back up. The signature should be able to pop off straight away. I like it. I came up with the idea with Job just because it adds decap potential to anything Sandy does, and that's actually quite nice. And also, like I say, a disarm is always nice. So this team is quite basic for an attack team, but it still managed to take out a Telltale team with a Rosie with heavy control in 3 turns. That isn't too bad at all, and that comes down to the heavy resist that we had off of turn 1. The taunt that comes out from Rosie got resisted by Sandy, and so did one of the daisies at least, and that means that the control that would effectively affect other characters on the team is being kind of like absorbed by Sandy instead. That's very nice just off the bat, but it gives Sandy a bit more freedom to actually get attacks off and do more damage. So that was just a showcase and my idea of how to build Brawler Sandy. I do think that the potential of her weapon in the future could get crazy, really depending on what weapon Scopely decide to bring out. If she gets a very heavy base attack weapon, like 55%, and it has the higher versions of 1535 and maybe the higher versions of the attack versus when enemies have a certain amount of HP, she would be doing crazy amounts of damage. Crazy amounts of damage indeed. Almost like the faction assault weapon, but with the improved 1535 instead on the last slot. That is going to be Sandy's like dream weapon. Let me know your ideas on Sandy as a potential character coming to RTS. I want to thank you very much for tuning in, and as always, keep on surviving, guys. Keep on surviving.